There's a really, really expensive part of the digital voices process that I keep refusing to cut as a budget, and I know if we cut it, it would save us so much money.
If you were to choose one thing that needs to change now, what would that one thing be?
We have a lack of strategic discipline. You know, decades ago, it was all about strategy and working with an insight based on human behavior.
Jamie, Jenny, thank you so very much for joining me. I'm very excited for this podcast. The title is Unskippable, Cutting Through the BS in the Creator Economy.
Our favorite title. It's just what we talk about all the time.
We basically go on hikes and talk about BS and the creator economy in LA.
We do.
Like,
We've got five parts actually. The four parts are, we'll be discussing lazy marketing that deserves to be skipped. We're talking about measuring the wrong things. We're talking about you can't fake brand love. What needs to change now? And we'll do a quick rapid fire this or that series of questions as well. If you could just for the audience do a quick name, role, maybe a fun fact if you could add as well.
Make me start. Hi, I'm Jenny Quigley-Jones, the founder and CEO of Digital Voices. I started the agency about 8 years ago. Fun fact, my team is mainly in UK and US. We've also got some people in Costa Rica, newly, which is great. But I split my time between the US and Rome, newly.
That's so fun.
Balance in my life.
Hi, I'm Jamie Gutfreund. I am your good friend. I'm a recovering CMO. I've worked at, and I think I'm a wannabe stand-up comedian. That's my fun fact. I'll start with my fun fact, is I think I'd really like to be a stand-up comedian.
Have you ever done an improv class?
I have, and I really like it. So I'm just telling you.
Amazing.
And I founded a company called Creator Vision to help brands figure out strategies for the creator marketing industry, where I take I translate between traditional marketing and creator marketing.
Love that. I admire both of you very deeply. You've both shaped the creator economy to where it is today. I'm very excited about this conversation. I'm going to give a bit more color to both of you guys because I think there's more to that intro that the audience should really hear. Jamie, as you said, the founder of Creator Vision, but before that you were the Chief Growth Officer at Whaler, where you helped them scale to one of the most awarded and respected companies in the space. Past roles also include Chief Consumer Experience Officer at Hasbro, Global CMO at Wunderman Thompson. You've got a real rare mix of creative leadership, commercial instincts, and a deep understanding of how influence builds brand.
There was no method to my madness. I was always just really curious and took the most interesting opportunities that I could find and worked with really smart people. So yeah, I got lucky.
And Jenny, CEO and founder of Digital Voices, largest woman-owned influence marketing agency in the world.
I forget. That's such a great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one that stayed independent because you've got Village and obviously who are incredible, but yeah, they've both sold. So yeah, that's kind of scary.
And not just that, you launched it with only £500 as well, and built it to what it is today, a true global business. You're also not just well respected, but your voice is very clear. You're very articulate and have very strong, well thought through, I was going to say opinions, but it's more like there's oomph, pizzazz to it as well, which we'll give some space to in the conversation today. I'd love to get straight into it. What is the biggest myth in the creator marketing space right now? And frankly, what are you tired of hearing?
You got about an hour? Well, one of the things, and this has nothing to do with the fact that this is a podcast with ThisThat and you're brilliant in the measurement space, is the lack of awareness of how important data is in the creator marketing world. We tend to focus on the loudest voices, who are the creators, and they're fantastic, and we wouldn't have an industry without them. But most of the brands, the agencies, the people driving the engine of the business, we are not talking about the data enough. and what we do with the data, where the data lives, how you manage the data. And we're here in Cannes, and the only thing people are really talking about is AI. But you can't have AI function if you have no data. And most brands don't own their data. They don't collect it, they don't organize it, they don't manage it. And if they're going to use it for an MMM, if they're going to use it for AI down the road, you cannot function without data. And I find that to be a huge limitation. And I feel the agencies and the partners have a responsibility to help educate the brands about that.
You're right as well, because a lot of the agencies, because they're being pushed to have the lowest agency fee, because procurement's pitting them against each other, like, well, this agency can do it 15%, so why can't you?
Right.
That means agencies aren't investing in hiring data people, or they're not investing in hiring great strategists.
That's a really smart point.
So brands are asking for the strategic support from agencies, but you're like, if you're going to do a race to the bottom on price and cut out every measurement, like add-on that we try and test like campaign effectiveness with, how on earth are we supposed to even educate you or be a great partner? And at the same time, you've got these budgets massively increasing, because you've got the Unilever CEO, Fernando Fernandez, talking about 20x increases in influencer marketing spend in Unilever, which is already kind of was leading in the space. So that's pushing budgets up from 30% of marketing spend to 50% of marketing spend. So you've got all this pressure and this FOMO of CMOs who are like, oh my God, we have to do more influencer. But they're not measuring it, and they're not asking to measure it. They're not allocating budget to measuring it. So like, okay, so this is going to create a system where we have to defend these budgets much more. If it's 50% of the marketing budget, it's going to be so interrogated, and it should be. But you have to give agencies and your teams the tools to interrogate the value of that spend.
And the information to build a strategy on, because it's usually one and done. They do campaign, and there's no overarching strategy. And what I find that's really fascinating is the lack of, I guess you could say, data hygiene and strategic hygiene, because you'll do a bunch of campaigns and you could be a house. One of the things I see, which is really frightening, is you'll see a house of brands, and even within those, the different agencies or the brands across different markets don't know what they're paying creators in different markets. They don't know how different campaigns performed, and they're not collecting any of this. And one of the key challenges or opportunities that we're missing is, if you look at the platforms, WPP just had this industry report that came out that about the increase in budgets that are going to the platforms. They're growing by 20%. Traditional TV only grew by 1%. 50% of ad budgets are going to the social platforms. And the social platforms business model is all around the creators making the content. So they're not paying for the content, which means they have all the revenue that's increasing to reinvest in data and making it easier to target and to sell ads. But the brands, to your point, are not investing in the agencies to do anything with that information.
Completely agree. My point, 'cause I was like, oh, I've measurement, and then I was torn with something else that I think the industry's missing. So everyone talks about authenticity, and I think that's so overrated and it's overdone. And it's like, please, if you don't know what you're saying, if you don't know what to say on a panel, you're going to say authenticity and influencer marketing. It's like, get off the panel, give someone else space who has something interesting to say. But I think that authenticity thing that everyone's clinging on to comes from the fact they haven't thought more deeply about the purpose of influencer marketing beyond an entertainment channel or an awareness channel. Because influencer marketing, to me, the funnel is broken. And you were just quoted in this report we released on it about how this idea of the marketing funnel is so flawed, because it's not how people consume content or consumers build desire anymore. So actually what's happening with the funnel is we see it as more as like an infinity loop. So there's discovery of a brand or product, and then it goes to hype. So at that stage, if you're considering buying a product, they used to say you had to see it 7 times, but that was you had to see an ad 7 times for it to register. But that's from I think a study from the 70s. So actually it's far more. Think about how saturated we are with ads. So the hype stage is where you need to be unmissable on social and in real life and experiential and TV, whatever. You need to become unmissable as a brand. So that is a huge volume of content that should go out there and be about your brand. It can be influencer content, it can be organic social, it can be experiential, it can be creator paid ads. But that's where you saturate your audience, like the Wonder Skin lip stain on TikTok that, turns your lips blue. Everyone's seen it. Everyone has seen it because they've saturated the audience. Then you've got purchase, and that purchase moment has to be seamless, whether it's through TikTok Shop, one click, whether it's through Amazon, whether it's through going to the Jellycat Cafe and having a great experience, whether it's through buying crumble cookies because you don't know what the flavor of the week is. And then you go to advocacy and community, and then back to discovery because people discover through content. What I find really interesting is authentic creator content has a role in that, but it's in the discovery piece or the advocacy piece. The hype piece, where you're saturated with content, it's not actually about authentic content, right? It's about a volume of content. It's about piquing interest. So authenticity to me is such a narrow way of putting influencer marketing in one tiny part of the media plan. Authenticity shows you're lacking imagination and not thinking of the entire marketing ecosystem as having transformed. Because actually, influence is not about, it's about production houses, it's about translation, it's about cultural translation and cultural fluency. It's about great paid ad assets where someone says, hey, if you order on DoorDash and use Dash Pass, it's the cost of DoorDash fees for 2 orders a month. Like, that's not authentic content, that's great ad content. So I think seeing influencer is far more than that, and seeing how social media has transformed the way we do marketing is what's missing to me.
I love this infinity loop that we'll touch on the advocacy piece later on. So you say you can't fake brand love, and that creates this ripple effect, which is really what makes influencer marketing so special, but also firmly believe the whole industry is going to have to evolve to adapt to that approach. I want to make sure we can touch on lazy marketing that deserves to be skipped.
I mean, that's kind of what Jenny was just talking about.
Yeah, luckily we'll skip in and out of the sections throughout this podcast.
I'm very open to that. There's something that you said, Jamie. You said AI can't fix what you haven't built.
Right.
You've also called out the affiliate-only models and bad briefs, and how those can lead to lazy creatives. You've touched on what's broken. I'd like to touch on that a little bit more, but why is so much of influencer marketing in 2025 still so underwhelming?
Oh my God. And I just went to the Creator Awards last night.
Yeah.
There were no Creator Awards. There was nothing. It was mostly social. There was some great social content. There were no creator campaigns that won awards. And I know the reason creator campaigns are not viewed as it's the strategy. It's a lack of strategy. Mm-hmm. And what I see happening in the industry is there is a wealth and legacy in the ad industry, because that's I'm old enough for that's where I started. I think you read about it in your earlier days. No, just kidding. But decades ago, it was all about strategy and working with an insight based on human behavior. And from there, brilliant creative ideas emerge. And now we have a lack of strategic discipline. And what I mean by that is the strategists are your secret weapon. And if you know how to weaponize a brilliant strategist, your campaign is likely to be brilliant in effect. And maybe it's the investment, maybe it's the way the world has evolved, but most creator marketing agencies have not invested in a true strategic perspective, excluding digital voices, of course. And I think that's how Jenny and I met, because we were talking about strategy. And what's challenging is a strategist really understands human behavior, but can blend in data and blend in human insights. And the other side of it is, while they are becoming an almost extinct breed, the classically trained strategist, what's also a problem or a challenge, and maybe look at it as an opportunity, is for the creator marketing world to understand how to weaponize a strategist. There's a difference between a creative strategist who knows how to do a brilliant campaign on TikTok or on YouTube versus a brilliant business strategist who understands a company's business mandates and understands the power of differentiation, understands the business goals, understands the context. And not understanding how to work with a strategist it's an art form. And you see so many brilliant people in Cannes that understand that discipline. And yet in creator marketing, and it's not a problem for the creators, they're brilliant and they do what they do, but it's at the agency level where you have a lack of discipline, of understanding the art and science of crafting a strong message?
That's really interesting. It sparked so many thoughts. I think it's partly because we're still in this hang up from COVID, where suddenly that's where creative marketing, to me, like this industry's been going on for a decade. And it, at least a decade, but a decade. And in COVID, it really accelerated because it was like, we can't use production teams. We can give creators a budget to produce content from home. Let's run straight into the space. And so I think a lot of brands reallocated their budget, didn't think about it. And we're seeing this huge scale, but you're right, we're not seeing the strategic thinking. And I would say one of the reasons, actually, being transparent here, really transparent, Digital Voices has never entered a campaign for a Cannes Lion because I won't do it until we've got a campaign I think is really worthy of it. And it is so rare that clients come to you with that creative freedom to let the influencer agency, the creator agency, lead the strategy for the entire campaign so it feels cohesive. Those campaigns are rare and they are a joy to work on. We just did the Magnum Cannes Film Festival campaign. So Charlie XCX, a rave in a bakery on the Croisette Cannes Film Festival, influencers there. That I think is probably, we did it a month ago, so it'll probably be in next year's, but that got to be a creator-led strategy and we were in the room with the PR agency, with the creative agency, defining what that looks like. We became the lead agency. But as a creator agency at the minute, you're being briefed like, hey, we want to maximize views or we want to maximize sales. So the brands are essentially asking you to not think of a cohesive strategy. Instead, think of how can each piece of influencer content do well. So there's no red thread that pulls it all together.
Right.
It's like if Max produced content on TikTok, it would be entirely different to your content on TikTok. So we let you be completely different and lean into that. And
that's not a reduction of creative freedom. It's a lack of what you said, a red thread, an umbrella campaign, which is what creative agencies have traditionally done so beautifully. And I think to your point, it shouldn't be either or. It shouldn't be traditional marketing or creator marketing. It should blend together. But that's so great that you actually had an opportunity to lead the strategy. That's so rare.
We'd worked with them for 4 years, then they took 2 years off. They let a platform run it 1 year. It's an annual summer campaign. Then they let another creative agency that had no European presence since Europe led. So it was a nightmare last year, lead it. And they were like, we really, really had such bad results that we need to bring back in digital. It was really cool to bring us back in and also to bring us in to lead it and go to Amsterdam. And like, that was an amazing campaign, but it's again, so rare. Because again, I think you've got stretched marketing teams, you've got CMOs who are scared of being fired. Yeah. So they're either going performance or awareness or, and they're just doubling down on a strategy. Yeah. And then the agencies don't have the integrity, not integrity, I think they don't have the headspace and the trust to be able to say, hey, this is like completely the wrong way to do things. And because who can spend time and assets educating your clients? You just want them to like you and say yes. So I think we're in just the catch-22 where no one's...
It's like a bad relationship. It is, if you think about it. If you're dating and you're not putting out what you really want, you're going to get back something that is not what you actually want. It's a response to what you're putting out there. I hadn't really thought about it that in agency-client relationships.
It's feedback loop.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's funny. That's why we launched the Global Influencer Council yesterday. So we're launching the Global Influencer Council is essentially, we're bringing the top 10 or so brand marketing minds from EMEA and the top 10 or so brand marketing minds from the US, and they have to work in brand marketing together so that they can have discussions every quarter and produce reports and speak at events on how to make the industry better. So I feel like at the moment, brands don't even know who to call to ask about influencer marketing. When I ask CMOs, they go, I guess I'd call you. You're like, no, that's not, I want to know who you would call in brands who you think is doing it great. And so it's going to be a year tenure, and then we're going to switch up the membership every year.
Smart.
But I just want to elevate the level of conversation and thinking in this industry, because like as much as I love rosé on a yacht, it's not making anyone's brain better.
Okay, well, you asked us like things we're sick of hearing about. I need creative freedom. I tell creators this all the time. Please don't say that. What I think that they want to say is, I know my audience better than you do, and let me give you some insights that will help your campaign. But it defaults to, I need creative freedom. But I also want to pick up on what you just said, Jenny, which is so interesting. And I always ask people this. I said, pretend you're a new CMO and you just started an exciting, sexy new job, and your CEO is, say it's, Fernando Fernandez or whoever who's very bullish on creator marketing. And they said, we want to do the greatest, best creator strategy for all of our media business that has ever existed. You can call anybody as your phone a friend. Who do you call to learn? And that stumps people all the time. And that, I think, is, if it's in advertising, if it's in out of home, if it's radio, if it's podcasting, but for some reason, the who do you call in the creator marketing industry stumps people.
Okay, sorry, this is a really spicy conversation I would probably have with Jamie behind closed doors, and you can tell me if you want us to cut this, and we can. I'll tell you my question. And I think Cannes is involving creators, and it's great to see Cannes involving creators, but I think they're doing it entirely the wrong way. I think flying a load of influencers to the Croisette to say the same thing on a panel that's like, give me creative freedom, I know my audience. It's not elevating the discussion. Like, I love creators being here, but I think a lot of creators, and I've seen like a lot of small creators who can't afford to be here, really can't. Even with the access schemes, they're like, they're given a free ticket, but like most agencies don't even buy tickets to the Palais. So like they're given a free ticket, they have to pay a lot for accommodation and transport. And then you're like, what are you trying to get out of it? They're like, connections with brands. I'm sorry, if you meet a CMO, they're never going to be like, oh, I really want to sponsor their content. They might say it, it's not a campaign, it's not a strategy. So I think the way we should be involving creators is thinking strategically. And the gap we've got for like building incredible campaigns is because the creative thinking isn't there. And chucking more influencers on a panel to be like, yay, you met Alex Earle, like that's amazing. But you need to be having strategic conversations with, I think, agencies that can craft the way you think. And I think instead, it's like, let's do an influencer takeover, let's add loads of creators to Cannes. It's great, I love them being here, but it's not elevating the conversation necessarily.
I think
we can cut it.
No. I think it's an important conversation. I had the opportunity yesterday to do a panel with Katie Welch, who's the CMO of Rare Beauty, and she's spectacular. And we were talking to creators at the rooftop yesterday, and we did almost like an AMA, but we shared how to think like business people, what creators can do versus what they do in conversations with CMOs. And we also provided, I got very detailed on what it's like to be a CMO, because how would creators know? Most of them have never worked in a brand. And so we shared what it's like for someone like Katie to have to make business decisions, but be a good person and to take, because that's a mission-based brand, and how they balance that tension. And among the things on both sides, and I did some research last year called the Creator Rosetta Stone, and it's a lack of translation. So one of the things, for example, and I think this bears fruit, is nobody tells brands or creators this. 85% of creators say they never hear back from a brand after a campaign finishes. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because the brand has already paid the creator has already done the work, it doesn't cost any more money, and yet nobody's sharing information. You always do a debrief with your creative agency, so you leave all of that learning on the table. So the creators go, it's like dating, I guess. It's the same thing. They go from relationship to relationship to relationship, and they don't improve.
Yep. And they don't get the data.
And they don't get, yeah.
So then they resort to, I know my audience. They don't know, I know how to sell to my audience, because they don't have the sales data.
That's right.
But I think that comes, again, cutting corners with agencies. So the agencies don't have the time to do it because the fees are so low.
Right.
So they cut everything that they can, every corner.
I'd love to interject here.
Hard to do with us.
I'm so sorry, Matt. It's really
I'm mindful that you said half past, and there are so many other questions I'd love to ask both of you. But you've touched on that. What's quite interesting hearing that, I want to interweave that into this measurement section I'd like to go into. Reach, sales, those are very common metrics that everyone knows, or impressions. And that's something that is just inherently transparent, and an influencer would be able to see the impressions that they have, unless I suppose it's like paid amplification, they might not be able to see that, but from the organic lens, they would know that. If there's some sort of UTM link or something like that, you'd imagine that they'd be able to track the sales as well. These other things in the no?
They don't even get that.
Nothing?
They don't get it.
If they get a UTM link, they literally post the link. They might find a way to see clicks if it's like a bit.ly link, but the brand won't even tell them the traffic they've driven.
Okay, so really it's just
the
impressions,
sales.
and that's probably why that's the most common thing.
You know, when somebody has a piñata and they're blind and they're whacking at the piñata, that's kind of what it's like.
Gosh. Okay.
Amazon storefronts, LTK, affiliate, that's where they can see impressions, and that's where the best creators can advocate for their value. So like, hey, I know I've sold this amount, I know my audience buy this.
They have 38% of the Gen Z market in the US, LTK. Really impressive. And on LTK, another fun fact is that the audience on LTK prioritize brand over price, which is in the US, brand ranks like 4th place for buying decisions for Gen Z when it comes to fashion products. But on LTK, the audience there put brand over anything else. It's quite interesting. Like, the audience there are really primed for what that platform offers.
I think a lot of there was some research on Gen Z that said they're less brand elastic than millennials, partly because maybe they haven't been hit by the economic realities of buying a house yet. But they are more brand loyal.
Within measurement, and I'm going to be looking at my iPad now because I've got quite a few quotes I'm going to be referencing and a few things I want to touch on. Jenny, in a recent post you've shown, so this is close to the UTM thing that we just discussed, how discount codes only capture a fraction of the results. Once a client thought that they were getting $1,000 CAC, but the pixel data shows actually $82. You've been vocal about how discount codes and last click attribution massively undervalue creator impact. You had a post titled "The Hidden Math of Influencer Marketing ROI," and you had a very sharp opening line where you said, "We're comparing apples to oranges when measuring influence marketing against other channels." You broke down how influencer CPMs include both creation and distribution, unlike traditional media CPMs, which often exclude the production costs. And that triggered an insane thread of conversations in the comment thread.
It went 10 million views, and I started it with, this is a really niche video for influencer marketing measurement people. Yeah. It's funny how the appetite in this industry for learning is so strong. Yeah.
And I engaged in that comment thread, and I got quite a bit of engagement in my comment, which was super fun as well. When I engaged in that, yes, yeah. You messaged me like, Max, you're gonna love this post.
Is that because we're on a boat?
Yeah, I was trying to do a camera.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
And I shared that whilst MMM is still widely used, I think the bigger issue is actually benchmarks. I think influence marketing is still being measured with the wrong metrics. I argue that brand lift is the best benchmark for teams trying to champion influence marketing today, because it captures relevance, action, and advocacy. We've seen it, as a real tool to unlock bigger budgets for influencer marketing. It's another metric that's been used for decades, and there's apples to apples against different channels, and we've had the data to prove just how much more effective influencer marketing is. And Jamie, this is actually something that you had referenced as well not too long ago, and in your post it was advertising versus advocacy. You were about how creators don't just reach audiences, they build trust, and trust fuels advocacy. You spotlighted the Digiday article that covered ThisThat's benchmark data, and you highlighted the fact that recommendations went up 1.74x year on year. And you said something that I really agree with. Advocacy isn't a one-time event. It's a ripple effect that keeps working long after the campaign ends. So, here's my question.
Thank you for reading our LinkedIn post, by the way, so carefully. Appreciate this, Max. This never happens in real life.
Never. Love it.
My question is, why is the mid-funnel so misunderstood? And what should brands actually be measuring?
We have so many thoughts on this, and I'm happy for you to start.
Yeah. Well, mid-funnel was developed as in the TV paradigm. In the creator paradigm, and the idea of the infinity loop that Jenny in Digital Voices is just talking about, we were just discussing, the medium, you have to think about made for the medium, and the mid-funnel is about learning. It's about how to take care of the product once I bought it, how to use the product. And it's, you have to trust the person that's telling you that information, otherwise you're not going to pay attention. But it builds the ability to see yourself in the product in a different way. It's, the awareness is, okay, I've seen it, and then I'm going to buy it. But in the middle of it is that the right color for me? How do I take care of these pots or pans? Is it worth buying an expensive, consumer electronic item? But I can go to YouTube and just look at the brand's perspective on that. But with creators, it's a human being that I have spent time with, that I trust, And if they are somebody that can show me how to use it or get the most value out of a product, I'm going to pay much more attention. An ad doesn't do that because it's just paid media and it's got a job to do, whether it's conscious or not conscious. And so the difference between advocacy and advertising is huge, and they go hand in hand. And that's why I think it's not either or. The most brilliant marketing today does both.
Yes, everything, yes. But I love that most brands, it's either you get a brief that's awareness or a brief that's performance. And the performance ones, it's a performance machine. It's like at scale, they're trying to blitz scale often. It's like lower funnel, not imaginative, because that's what they're told to measure. So that's what they brief you on. Awareness. I mean, a lot of brands are trying to cut through culture, but again, they're not necessarily being brave and doing it the right way. And so this huge consideration piece in the middle gets kind of left for a more considered purchase, more luxury purchase, or B2B. B2B is really good at measuring consideration because they appreciate their sales cycle is like 6 months a year. Like if you're going to switch, I don't know, buy Slack for a large organization and switch from Microsoft Teams or switch to Microsoft Teams, like that's a big decision. So it will take a long time. So they're happy to measure consideration. But we actually tailor the guarantees for every campaign to exactly what the brand wants in terms of KPIs. And only once has that been a consideration metric. L'Oreal asks us guarantee engagements in the US, well, globally for Ralph Lauren fragrances. But apart from that, every single brand is like here or here. And it's such a shame because it's missing this long-term advocacy. It's missing the whole point of influencer marketing. It's missing measuring every part of the funnel at once, which you can do. And so I think it's still approaching it campaign by campaign rather than as a long-term plan where you're going to optimize different aspects.
And look at it almost like a NASA control room. The other thing that I'm going to bring up, because you just mentioned, is the beauty industry is where I watch for the bellwether of where the industry is going overall, because they were the leaders, and now I think they're the laggards. And I say that, and it's very controversial, and I love my beauty clients, but they have let creators hijack their brand, and everything is consideration for them, but it's disguised as a get ready with me video. It's get ready with me videos have become awareness, consideration, and conversion, which is what creator marketing can do, but it does not capture the differentiation between the brands, because if you do a wall test and you look at beauty content, and unfortunately where beauty goes, the rest of the industry goes, there's no differentiation in Get Ready With Me. So you have to find new ways to advocate for your product and to do consideration. So I just wanted to say that while I had that moment.
Only person I want to spotlight in beauty that's doing it really, really, really well, Elf. Elf are doing, I don't know if you disagree with me, Elf are doing really strong advocacy, ethical, and like putting down their point of view on society and trying to tie that back into their brand. So I think the So Many Dicks campaign that I think is going to win a Lion, if it hasn't already. Anyway, the So Many Dicks campaign was incredible. It wasn't about beauty, it was about female representation, it was about challenging, and I think it held the essence of Elf as a challenger brand. And every time I see their content, I think, oh, that's different, that's challenging how things are done. Like the Elf and the F1 partnership, you're like, oh, I think that's so brave. So I think they're doing very well at not just being product, get ready with me, trying to awareness, consider, convert all at once. They're also doing this amazing always on piece of thinking, what do I want people to feel when they see content around my brand? And for a beauty brand, I think that's impressive.
I think speaking of feeling, brand love, you had a talk this week where you said you can't fake brand love. And that line hits really hard because so many brands still try to do that. And Jenny, you speak just now again about building this long-term creator partnership and that always-on layer of kind of build that. And that really builds real advocacy, not just one-off impressions that might not do anything at all. If you want to build that always-on loop, this infinity loop, you need to be moving with always-on partnerships with creators. What does it take to create partnerships that feel real? And what role do strategy, briefing, and incentives play in getting that right?
Brand love is something that you can't really buy, and knowing which advocates, I won't even call them creators in this conversation, really do love your product is critical. Because, and I've heard stories there, especially you see this with celebrities, the celebrity that you pay to wear your product, great, they'll get a lot of visibility about it. But like if you saw the Kelsey brothers and they just did a whole, they're on their podcast and they were talking about Reese's, that was brilliant because everybody knows they already love Reese's. And so you can't fake that. And it gives them the way in creatively and strategically to talk about a product that's so different. So knowing which creators or celebrities are already talking about your product and listening and knowing who that is, whether they're micro or a major star, makes all the difference in the world. I think that's the key thing. And last year, I remember hearing from Unilever that the Lipton tea campaign, they were building into the campaign time for creators to get to know the brand and really build brand love. So that is another way to do it. But most brands don't build in 6 to 8 weeks to have a creator get to know your brand and really connect with why they love the product or service or whatever it might be.
That's that missing bridge of, that they understand their audience best, right? They know how to speak to them, but they don't understand, like a brand might have 4 key attributes that you can lean into. They would then understand which attribute should they double down on for their audience.
Well, this was and I felt it was a bucket list. I got to interview Ilona Maher, the Olympic rugby player. God. She's amazing.
I love her.
And that all came from, she decided that she was going to fight against this concept that you can't be an athlete and be feminine and beautiful at the same time. And she loves lipstick, so she was wearing the Maybelline lipstick, which I actually put on yesterday, and it's still on my lips. Mm-hmm. But she loved that product, and Maybelline was really smart and went and signed her, and they have this very strong partnership because she actually really loved the product. And her audience knows that because they trust if she's going to say something, she means it.
Yeah. There's two things you mentioned. One, there's a really, really expensive part of the digital voices process that I keep refusing to cut as a budget, and I know if we cut it, it would save us so much money, and it's one of those things, the brand budgets incentivize you to cut it, and you're like, no, I can't, this makes our campaigns better. It's onboarding calls with creators. And it's like literal one-on-one calls with every creator in a campaign to be like, right, do you understand the product? Let's go through the brief together. Do you know the messaging? Do you know how to say the brand name? Have you tried the product before? Because honestly, at that point, you can tell if a creator is gonna just dial it in and try and get paid. And we have cut creators after onboarding calls. It's been like, this feels wrong.
Where's the ceiling on that? Like if you were to do that with 200 creators, would you still try and find time for that?
Yeah, we've done it. We've done some campaigns that were really quick turnaround, high scale. We offered group onboarding call slots. So up to 5 creators on a call. And basically when I worked at YouTube, we used to have to do like call center calls back to back with the creators. So my team will set up like a calendar and creators will book slots.
Smart.
I just think it's something that, again, so human and is so crucial to either getting the best out of the creative or ensuring the messaging's right for performance. So for every type of campaign, it works. And I think without that, you really compromise the outcome. So I just refuse to do it. The second thing is I love when it comes through in the content that the creators love a brand. So like at the Magnum event, one of the creators was like, I've eaten 8 Magnums today in a TikTok video. And I was like, you know what, I agree. I can tell it's real because I've watched it. But like you watch the like overindulgence and the playfulness. And I think that's where long-term deals come in. So we've done a lot of analysis on performance campaigns with creators and kind of conversion driving campaigns. And we find that if you work with someone once, yes, you can get strong ROI from that first campaign. But if they convert in that first campaign and then you keep working with them, so as long as they convert initially, their conversion rate increases for the next couple of videos. Because their audience have seen so many brands that come and go and don't really support their favorite creator in the long run. They're just trying to essentially buy an ad spot.
The power of long-term creative partnerships.
Yeah. It actually drives more conversions.
I saw this campaign back in the day. It was a washing machine, washer and dryer. And obviously the effort to get a washer and dryer into a creator's house was massive. So they had to have the campaign running. It was like a 6-month thing. So everybody knew they were actually using the washer and dryer. So there was no faking that. And the impact of it was so huge, and it was such a successful campaign. And it's extreme because how many people are going to gift a washer and dryer? But the outcome and the results, they sold an enormous amount of product because people actually saw them using the product for an extended period of time.
We've touched on data, the importance of getting that. We've touched on measuring consideration in the mid-funnel, talked about strategy, we've talked about briefing. If you were to choose one thing that needs to change now, what would that one thing be? It could be something outside of that list that I just touched on.
We fight our clients a lot to get data. We ask for Google Analytics data, we ask for Shopify data, we work with Amazon as a partner, so we ask for that. I would love, and the only reason I think in the end that clients give it to us is because we tie in our results, our guarantees to those results. So we're like, we can't measure whether our campaign has been effective and whether you want to keep partnering with us. If we're guaranteeing performance, we can't measure that unless you share that data. But we have to have huge disagreements. They have to take it to different data teams. It's a lot of work, and it really pushes back. I think it delays signing off contracts, really delays growth. So I'd love that to be standard in the industry, and I'd love that to be expected. I would love measurement. I mean, you were on the Magnum campaign as well, through the
Host the panel with them.
Okay. But that was it.
Yeah.
We pushed you and they cut it because of the budget. Sorry, that can get cut out. But I also would love measurement to be included as standard, because we want to make sure that we're seeing where campaigns are successful or not and actually double down on learning and improving. So I think without sharing data, without making a real conscious effort to build a measurement framework that's integrated from the beginning, you can never truly prove the effectiveness of influencer as a channel. And it is so much more powerful than any other media channel that we've used. So I just want the data to be standardized, that it's shared with all partners to then have that impact.
I'll say it'll be controversial, but I don't care because I can't get fired anymore, which is my favorite thing now. Lazy data in the form of EMV. I'm sorry, it's nonsense.
I love that you said that. We have one client that's only being
I'm
analyzed
sorry.
on EMV right now.
I would fire any CMO that relies on EMV. And I know they all have benchmarks in their salaries and everything else is so built around EMV. It is nonsense.
Love it. Going to go through a rapid series of this or that questions. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Conversion or community?
Community.
Community's in vogue now to drive conversions. I think post-COVID, everyone's all in community right now.
Community strategy or media plan?
I think they're one and the same. They're the same thing now.
You need one to get to the other. You need the community strategy to get to the media plan.
Unpack how they're the same.
Exactly, because the community strategies, who's in the community? Who are the people? If you don't know who the people are, you can't have a media plan.
It's like trying to build a media plan with no brand book.
Campaign or program?
Oh, program, all day long.
Program. We only have 35 clients, but we work with them on some of them it's hundreds of campaigns a year. And I think that's the only way you can be doing great work in this industry. If you come in for each campaign, you're going to lose money pitching for every campaign. You're going to then do all that cutting the agency fee to try and make it work. You're going to cut every corner. Yes, it has to be programmed to actually survive.
Reach or relevance?
I hate that word relevance. I'm sorry. It's like authentic. I can't even answer that question. Relevance means nothing.
I debate that.
You can use a better word.
I think the industry has failed to measure relevance correctly. Our data shows that relevance is the biggest driver of consideration, but the way in which you measure relevance is perhaps different. A lot of people would just ask, is this relevant to you? Yes, and that means nothing. You don't know what made it relevant. We ask two questions. We ask an association-related question and a consumer priority-related question. So in the association, we ask, what do you associate most with this brand? And there'll be 4 different associations. And then when we ask the consumer priority question, we ask them what's most important to you, and it's the exact same 4 associations. And what relevance to us means is when these are aligned. So if someone has the same association with a brand, as well as that being the thing that's most important to them, that's how we define relevance. And that is by far the strongest driver of consideration.
But that's a ThisThat relevance, and I love that. The word relevance that's used, like authenticity, is I'm going to be relevant because I jumped on a trend. Yeah. It's a lazy word.
Yeah, and I was trying to work out, for my interpretation of your initial question was relevance is in all the short form algorithms only show you content from topics you're already interested in. So that becomes relevance. So I think, yeah, it's tough.
Reach or ThisThat relevance?
ThisThat relevance.
Yeah, of course, ThisThat relevance. Work with ThisThat. There you go. We already say that in every pitch, so.
Insight or instinct?
Insight. My instinct, if I hear one more CMO say, my 14-year-old told me, because they really are plugged into cultural relevance, I'm going to throw up.
We've been asked to include creators because the CMO's kids watch them. I've also been asked to include a creator in our campaign because the CEO wanted to sleep with that creator. I have said no to all the
We had an election that was determined a lot by that. Anyway, sorry.
I did not say that.
I did.
I have a
Fire me.
This has been wonderful.
Yeah, please just make sure it zooms in on Jamie when it's political references, because I am very much trying to keep my US visa right now.
There you go.
It is because my team were like, oh, can we do? We obviously got asked to pitch for the Kamala campaign by you, which was insane budgets and really exciting. But I was like, we can't be Cambridge Analytica. Also, I've had to explain this to my team, like it's everyone's jobs. Like if DV loses its right to be in the US, that's right. That's everyone's job. So we're turning down a lot of things right now. Yeah, please advocate.
Amy, Jenny, thank you so very much for being on the podcast.
So good. I loved it.
Very good, thank you.
I told you.
It was great. Yeah, you